Welcome, welcome. Great to see you guys. Happy Wisdom Soup Night. Very excited tonight. Let me go ahead and get our stuff going here. We're getting everybody in. I see so many wonderful, familiar faces. It's wonderful to see you all. I see me and Wendy and Adriana. Hello, you guys. It's so good to see you. And we've got, oh, look, there's Bruce is with us. I knew this topic was going to get you, Bruce. Okay, hold on. All right. So we've got lots of longtime wisdom supers with us, and then also some brand new wisdom supers. I see some new faces. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, hello and welcome. My name is Ann Tucker, and I have been hosting Wisdom Soup meetups for in April. Hello. So we've been hosting Wisdom Soup meetups. Sorry, I just got distracted. For more than, is it almost 5 years now? A really long time. We started out meeting in person in Bellevue back before COVID, and would meet always once a month. And it would be really whatever topics were. It was always super woo, anything that I thought was interesting. And I figured if it was interesting to me, it would be interesting to other people too. So we have covered the gamut. If you ever check it out on the meetup list, you'll see that the topics, you can scroll back for the last 5 years and see that we've done everything from, dragons and fairies to dream interpretation to, quantum physics to like all of it. And so it's like literally whatever sounds fun. And we get phenomenal speakers. And so that really makes a difference. And the community here is these are your peeps. Everybody here is on the path and is interested in these kind of woo topics. So it's a great place to just come and grow and be exposed to things and just be in the good vibes. So I am very glad you're here. So, and just for future reference, we always meet on the second Thursday of the month, usually at 7:00 Pacific time. Sometimes I switch the time up depending on sometimes we get speakers from other parts of the world and then I'll switch it. And sometimes I switch it to earlier just to give people that don't normally get to come a chance to come. So, but it's always on that second Thursday of the month. All right, so tonight we have an amazing and very exciting topic with a wonderful speaker, and we are talking about walk-ins. So for those of you who, some of you are familiar with this topic, as a matter of fact, when I posted this, a few people reached out and was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm a walk-in too. I have to be there. So I know for some people, this is going to be like, you're going to really resonate with this. And for other people, it's like, what is a walk-in and what the heck, how does it work? When does it happen? Why does it happen? And Rebecca is going to fill us in on all of that. So Rebecca Saltman is a walk-in. So in other words, she came to the planet and she entered a living 3-year-old body, right? Just as another soul was leaving it. So, and then you wonder, how does she know? Because she remembers the whole story. So remembers all of it. So she is Rebecca, and just a moment here. I thought I had up your bio here, Rebecca, and I did not. I was going to read your bio. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have you give your bio, but I will tell you myself that Rebecca, my knowledge of Becca has expanded. I've gotten to know her better over the past year, and she has an energy that is absolutely infectious. You can't know Rebecca and not love her. And she does amazing things. She's very involved with within her community. She's very much an organizer, and she's putting a lot of energy into ways of understanding how we can build an economy that is not based on money. How can we build a barter economy? And so she may want to share about that as well. So very interesting person with a very, very interesting past. So I would love to introduce you now to Rebecca. And let me go ahead and get you spotlighted. Here she is. This is Rebecca.
Thank you, Anne. That is delightful. I hope I can live up to this. So I'm lots of things and lots of not things. And but for tonight, I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm an empath. I'm a Cassandra. I see the future. Nobody believes me. Some people believe me, but and many other things. But specifically for tonight, let's just talk about the fact that I am a walk-in. So, I would love for this to be interactive, and Anne has permission to butt in at any time. So please ask questions or put questions in the chat or raise your hand, and hopefully Anne can help me because I have notes and I might not see things. So forgive me in that regard. And then Anne has permission to butt in. So
Thank you,
ask
Rebecca. Yeah,
questions whenever.
anybody who has questions, just post them in the chat, and I will make sure that that the whole group hears your question. So that would be awesome. We'd love to have this be interactive and share your thoughts as we go.
Excellent. And then also, so Anne knows this, but this is sort of the first time I'm talking about this in any way, shape, or form in public. So, and as my friends, some of which are here, have told me it's time to fly my freak flag. So come on in, the weather's fine. So here we go. And then if nothing else, I hope this is entertaining because it certainly will be for me. And then Anne asked if I would talk a little bit about the research I've done about empaths. Nice. Thanks, Jade. I hope you're here. About being a walk-in, and I have over the years done a whole bunch of research, and I found out some new things actually in the past couple of weeks. So that was pretty cool. So I will tell you a little bit about what they are when I've done the research, and then I'll tell you my story. And so as I personally understand it, this is not from research, but as I personally understand from my experience, that a walk-in is a universal contract between two souls in the universe. That's what I understand. I don't remember signing the contract, but I know with every cell of my being that I signed this contract. We'll just leave it there. So, and from my research, there's many definitions, and most of them are really talking about in science fiction. Lots of things are in science fiction from our conversations, right, Anne?
That's exactly right.
So a walk-in, in the definitions, I've sort of put a bunch of definitions together. A walk-in is when a person whose original soul has departed their body and has been replaced with a new and different soul. And so there's this woman named Ruth Montgomery who popularized this concept in her 1979 book, Strangers Among Us, which has become several versions of movies and otherwise. And then it goes on to talk about believers. So I guess I'm a believer, maintain that it is possible for the original soul of a human to leave a person's body and for another soul to walk in. And so Montgomery's work really talks about souls are said to walk in during a period of intense personal problems on the part of the departing soul, or because of an accident or trauma. So, for example, car accidents, drowning, drugs, alcohol, experiences where one may not be in full control of one's physical human skin, right? And so, for example, oftentimes near-death experiences, NDEs, are often associated with walk-ins, okay? However, not all walk-ins are near-death experiences, and not all near-death experiences are walk-ins. So there's many shades across the rainbow. So this is just what I've researched and what I've done, and there's many arguments because, of course, we're all in science fiction, so we can make it up as we go along here. So as the definitions go on, some other walk-ins describe their entry as occurring based on a prior agreement when the previous soul was complete. So this is a little bit about my experience, but I'll tell you more about that later. The walk-in being the being individual retains the memories of the original personality, but does not have emotions associated with the memories. Okay. And then as they integrate, they bring their own mental, emotional, spiritual consciousness and evolve the life to resonate with the purpose. So, me, I came in with big purpose. So, which is a much longer story, which I'm not going to talk about tonight. However, but I came in with purpose And that's why the universal agreement was created. And then incarnating into a fully grown body, which I didn't do, but many occurrences have this, allows the walk-in soul to engage in embodiment without having to go through the decades of maturation of the human body needs to reach adulthood, right? So, you know, they don't have to go through all the early childhood ickiness. They can just jump in. And then a walk-in soul also does not necessarily experience the conditioning of childhood and has a different relationship to life because they were not born. So that's sort of the definition. So maybe some of you saw the, oh my God, 1978 movie, Heaven Can Wait. So that
movie as a kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That movie portrays this one soul replacing a recently deceased man's soul and reviving it to inhabit his body. So it was really based on all of these science fiction things, right? So that's sort of the definition. And then I came across this article. It was just so hilarious. And I kind of wanted to share this, that this woman, Julia Roth, talks about different types of walk-ins. And so I thought I'd share a little bit of that, if that's okay. So the first one, she says, oops, I changed my mind, walk-in. And so that one is early in life, first few days, first few weeks, month. The soul realizes they're not ready and they want to go back. They're like, oops. And so it's too disruptive for the soul path for there to lose the baby to sudden death or another soul volunteers. And it's not planned, like it's not an agreement in advance like mine was, right? So, but the two souls agree. And because it's not planned in advance, sometimes the second soul, often soul, will take over the soul contract of the first soul and just do their best. And there's not a lot of disruption. There's just a switch. So that's the first one. The second one is called Hold My Beer. And this is unplanned also, like the first one, because the soul is needed somewhere else on a new mission. So it's not particularly common, and it can happen anytime in life. So it can happen in early childhood, it could happen as a child or a teen or an adult. And so there's often a change in personality that accompanies this kind. And soul 2 doesn't often have time to properly plan. And soul 2 might often feel lost and directionless because they're like, oops, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. They don't have the script. They're like thrown out on stage, don't have the script. Not great. The third is, you can use my car. And this is when a soul is urgently needed somewhere else. They got another, a soul is urgently needed here. So they just went through their life and their life completed, but they have to come back. So they need to come back quickly after their previous journey because they have an urgent mission to humanity, a Mother Teresa complex or something, who knows? And then the original occupant is willing to step aside and let the soul 2 take over the body. And then the original soul may stick around in the back seat to, experience the journey. And the second soul has a strong sense of purpose, right? Like Mother Teresa or something like this, because there's something that they're here for. The next one is prep the stage for me. And so this one is this is way planned before birth. It's often when a very high vibrating soul has not really done the earth thing before, but they want to have the experience. And, going through the birth process and the early childhood process is really challenging for somebody that's these high vibrating souls. So they ask another soul to prepare the body, prepare the stage. And then it allows for them, the soul swap, to have the least impact on the soul that is incoming, and they're the least different. So there's very little difference that you can see between the two. The next one is probably something that one might imagine is the life sucks and I'm out of here. So walk in. And this is often the kind of walk-in that's overcome by trauma, depression, negativity, illness, and they don't want to stay on the planet. So in many cases, they don't want to stay. They want to exit stage left. So they want to have another soul take over. They allow for another soul to take over, and another soul is excited because they get an earth school, and they take on this precious opportunity and have the experience. So they have this experience of earth, and then walk-ins. So the problem here is, though, that walk-ins at adulthood are very noticeable, uncomfortable. It takes longer to incorporate into a fully formed body. And there's often significant body change, and it often happens here. So this is the sort of sometimes near-death experience thing that happens later in life, that, somebody tries to take their life and they are saved, and then they have a full personality change. Often that's the near-death experience but is ultimately a walk-in. There's a timeshare where 2 or more souls plan before birth that they can inhabit the same physical body. So 2 souls get to play, and they make that decision beforehand with the universe, and that everybody gets to have the experience they need. They don't have to go through a full life experience, but they get the time. So if they want the early childhood or they want the adulthood or whatever, they timeshare. It's kind of cool. I didn't know that was a thing. And then there's the upgrade, the faux walk-in, and that one is really about that you're getting an upgrade in your energy, your intention, all of the things, and it feels like it's so uncomfortable. It's so different that it feels like a new personality, or it feels like a walk-in, but it's actually the higher soul of this other person, of the same person. So it's not really a walk-in. And then the other 2 are really malicious and more about swaps, that the original soul, there wasn't an agreement, that they're put in the back seat, they're locked out, and it's really demons or attachments. And so those are the kinds. So maybe I'll stop here for a minute.
Yeah, it is amazing. I love the funny names are helpful, very helpful too, in illustrating the different types.
Totally.
So is there any indication of what is the most common type of walk-in of those?
I think that they're mostly the ones that have been prearranged, that there was soul agreements with the ones that are mentioned.
Okay.
And then, people do have, attachments to them. So often
any
those
sense
things.
for how often that there are, that like among all, if you take a group of 1,000 people, how many would be walk-ins? Any sense for that?
I didn't get that per se.
Yeah.
So the least common are sort of the ones where that there wasn't pre-planned, and those are not so much experiences. But there's a lot of people that are having near-death experiences, and again, not all near-death experiences are walk-ins, but that people have absolutely no idea that they're walk-ins, that they have had these experiences. So the more I talk about it, the more I find out, like, oh, that's a walk-in. So it's, I don't think that people talk about it. So I don't think that there's any real sense of numbers. Except
I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know, or don't volunteer the information, or it would be very hard to track.
Yeah. Is there any questions so far? Or,
one person was asking, so we do have 2 questions. The first one would love to know if you know which planet or realm you came from.
Well, I do, but it's not part of this story. It's something very different. So I'm happy to talk to whoever that is separately, because I don't want this to go on all night. There's the whole thing. That's a whole thing. So
that was okay. So I can connect you with Angel is the one who asked. And then the me is asking, the ones with the upgrades from higher soul, how similar are those to peeps who are going through an awakening?
That it's a great question. That was sort of new to me, right? Like that. My guess is that it's much more dramatic than just an awakening. Mm-hmm. It feels to me like a full personality change or like something like that, that in the things that I was reading, it was really dramatic. So although waking up is dramatic, don't misunderstand. I'm sure all of us have had a bit of experience with that. But this is like personality change dramatic. So it doesn't it doesn't feel to me like that is the same as just not just an awakening, but an awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think so. There are a couple questions coming in, but I think it'd be best for you to tell your story. And then, because I think you might answer the questions in the process of your story. So like, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. All right. So here goes. So first of all, I'll just tell a little bit of background that'll help a little bit. So for most of my young life, into my early 20s, I had a recurring dream that I was sick and I almost died. And I could strangely remember every detail clearly. And I never talked about this because it was sort of scary, right? Like, who talks about this stuff? And so I didn't share it with anybody. And so when I was 22, I was working for Steven Spielberg, interviewing Holocaust survivors about their Holocaust life experiences. And we were put through this very intensive training because, talking to people about their trauma is super, super intense. And so they wanted to prepare us. And most of the facilitators of this were in their early 20s. So it's kind of crazy. Probably most of our past lives were in the Holocaust. So that's why this is, again, another entire story. However, so the training, they first started to describe to us that your earliest memories are often traumatic. So I kind of want to ask Anne to help me a little bit here, if anybody remembers their first memory and if it was traumatic, because, what are people's first memories? Like, so did you break a limb? Did you get lost? Did you, what are your first memories? Because what they described in this training, and 98% of the people's first memories in this training was fairly traumatic things, right? Mm-hmm. And again, it's not always, but yeah, it was really common. So I don't know. Does anybody?
Definitely seeing a lot of head shaking. I can tell you that like my earliest memories, while not traumatic, they were moments when I was very young where I got startled or scared. Yeah. Where my two earliest memories were ones where I was in an environment that I was at with my mom at a neighbor's house, and I felt scared, and some boys came running down the stairs and jumped right in front of me and scared me. And I was hiding behind my mom's legs, like that was scared. I wasn't in actual danger, but that's what sticks.
Yeah. I mean, and it could be something like that, right? It is trauma, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing too, my grandmother died, right? Yeah. Like, so mm-hmm. It's weird though that our first memories are often traumatic. And you can imagine that if we're interviewing Holocaust survivors and they were children during the Holocaust, like interviewing them, it would be really important to be able to have this conversation. And so, and mom and dad fight at 17 months old, right? Like, yeah. So, okay. Mm-hmm. So we went through this whole process. So I'll get back to my story here. we went through this process, and oh my God, my first memory was, oh, what do you imagine? Oh, that dream that I had been having as long as I could remember. And I was pretty damn surprised because, I mean, I knew I was sick as a kid, but I didn't know anything about it. And so after the training, I called my parents and I was like, what the heck? And they confirmed that everything I said was true. And not only that everything I said was true, however, that they couldn't believe I remembered it all. Mm. And so now here's the part that y'all came here for. So here's my story. So I remember, this wasn't a dream. I remember when I was 3 years old, or probably more accurately described, this body was 3 years old. My body had septicemia. Now, septicemia is when you go septic. I had apparently I had a sinus infection that got into my blood. This is very dangerous, by the way. Don't try this at home. And I was really, really sick. So as the story goes, my sister was 6 months old and I was 3, and I spiked a fever, a very, very high fever. And although potty trained at that point, I wet myself, my eyes rolled back in my head, and my mother and father decided to take me along to my sister's 6-month well check. And the doctor took one look at me and he said, send my sister home and send me to Children's Floating Hospital in Boston. So then I remember every detail. I remember smells. I remember sights. I remember how I felt, that it was cold. I was being pushed down this corridor of what seemed like a special part of the hospital. Like it was quiet-ish. On the right side of me, I was on a gurney. On the right side of me is a white wall with like rainbow colored swirls and colorful childhood handprints on the right side of me. And then on the left side of me, I remember in absolute vivid detail, the children in the rooms in the open doors to the left. Children in traction, heads all wrapped, screams, cries, like I can, every bit of it, as it happened just now. And I can't remember things that just happened just now. So as my friends can tell you. So the fact that I can remember this in such detail is quite eerie. And so I remember being pushed down this hallway, and then there's sets of doors. So as an adult, I understand this to be, as you go into surgery, they have like safe areas so that there's no germs. So like, I remember being pushed through several doors and then being put in a plastic bubble. Now, I don't know if any of you guys remember Boy in a Plastic Bubble, the film in the 70s, but I was put into a plastic bubble. I remember all of this, right? Like really, really clearly. And everybody's all suited up. I hear beeps and buzzes and lights and such a flurry of doctors all around me, all kinds of monitors on me. And I have, so also understand this was, yes, an isolation tent to room. Yeah, absolutely, Wendy, that's right. And but I know this as an adult, my experience as a child is I'm small and this is big, right? It's very big stuff. But there's so much activity and so much going on. And I'm put into this place. And since my parents are deceased, and I'm sure the doctor's deceased, I haven't been able to ask more specific questions because my mom's gone for 6 years. My dad's gone for 26 years. There's no people to ask about this actual situation. So I don't have specific details except for my memories of it. So I don't know what length of time. This could have been over a day, days, a week, I don't know. And none of my relatives that are still alive seem to remember. So this is a little frustrating for me. However, I am in this bubble. I'm in this plastic bubble, isolation room. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And all of a sudden, all the alarms are flashing. And I'm not an only child. I'm the older daughter. I'm the older child. So there's beeps and buzzes and noises, and not screaming per se, but like high pitched noises, and everything's quiet and flatline. Zzz, like I hear that noise, but everything's quiet. All of a sudden, silence. And I'm floating above my body. And there's another girl soul floating next to me. And we hug. And I fall into my body. And then all the noises are back. All the sound is back. All the lights are back. And so that's what I experienced. And that's what I thought happened until March of last year.
And
So I'll pause there for a moment.
when you, because you and I went through the story once before, and there was an important detail that you left out as you were telling it this time, which is that, no, is that when you were going down the hall, your position was not.
Oh, that's right.
That's key. So you got to explain that.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. And I didn't really understand this until much more recently. So if one was being wheeled down a corridor and one was lying down in the body, you would be seeing things on the left or the right from this angle, right? But I didn't see them from that angle. I was seeing them like this. And I'm a swimmer, so I kind of get this, right? So like doing rhythmical breathing when you're swimming. So I was hovering above the body as this was happening. I wasn't embodied. Is that better, Anne?
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise it was like, so you weren't actually in the body when your memory started.
Correct.
Hovering above the body, waiting for your moment to enter. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So any other things before I go?
Two other questions had come in before about what you were saying earlier. One was saying, I know someone who went through an upgrade walk-in of his higher soul and it was ultra evident in his life. So that's interesting. From what you were talking before about the different types of walk-ins. And then another person says, you said NDE, which I have, and I am also affected with Mandela effects, memories that don't match up with like historical changes, world maps, etc. Would this point to the second type you spoke about?
Yeah, I think so. And again, like if it resonates for you and you do some research, I'm happy. I always talk to people that also have experienced this because, it's just fascinating to me because I have never had anybody to talk to about it. Really. And again, I'm flying my freak flag for the first time, so I'm excited. So
we love it. So Sean is asking, at what point did you notice you were not embodied?
So honestly, I didn't understand a lot of me not being embodied until the past 10 years, right? And I'll be clear, I'm in my 50s, so I'm 53. So this happened 50 years ago. And so in the past sort of couple of decades, as I've learned more and more about my walk-in experience, have I really understood that this hug with this other soul and me, like I really understood, like I saw this, it was clear to me, this happened to me. And as I laid back, like I fell into the body. And that's when when everything started being active again. I could hear all the sights and sounds and things again. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Super interesting. So there's a whole second piece to this story, which is when it gets really spicy. So, so we want to hear that.
Well, hopefully. It's interesting to me, and maybe my friends that are on here that have had epic nightmare calls with me over the past year. So anyway, here we go. Friends, I love you. Thank you. All right. So yes, should I go on?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay.
Part two.
Part two. So I understood that I was a walk-in and that it was a walk-in. I walked in, she walked out. Good job. Mission accomplished. Great. Okay. March of 2021. I was seeing a dear friend who's a Harvard-educated psychologist and a psychic and many other really cool things. And maybe Anne will have her on as another wisdom soup topic because she's amazing and funny and smart and anyway, wicked. And so anyway, I had an appointment with her because she wanted to show me this amazing new technology that she was using to help address all sorts of things from the underlying mundane to general trauma. And basically this technology is called the Evox, and it has this metal hand cradle. and like Geordie LaForge from Star Trek glasses and a microphone. And the glasses have like flashing lights in them. And the technology maps your vocal inflection and it translates it onto a computer screen, like into a sort of pie chart. So you can see spikes and depressions where there are things that need to be addressed. So this is all coming from your vocal intonations, right? And the machine is designed to help overcoming like limiting thoughts and beliefs and things that are holding you back in your life, right? So, and she was experimenting on me, like so that I would learn about the technology. This was not meant as anything, weird. Although, I try everything weird. So, but, it wasn't intended to do what happened. So anyway, the process a little bit like family constellation work. And I'm sure some of you understand what that is, but like talk about your mother and how she's impacting you. And so then it maps and there's spikes and there's depressions and then you do some flights flash and then we talk about it. Groovy. And then, go to your father. But anyway, apparently this was not juicy enough for her. So after we had gone through this process like 4 or 5 times with my immediate family members, all of whom are deceased, and I've done my work with them, not that there wasn't work to be done. Don't misunderstand me. I'm far from anything good on any of that stuff. However, it wasn't juicy enough. So she asked me, she knows me pretty well, and she knows that I'm a walk-in. She's like, can we map the walk-in? And she's like, thinks this is pretty funny. And so I was like, okay, I'm game. Yeah, as I said to Anne when she asked me to talk on Wisdom Soup, I'm game. So the process is this: you have the glasses on, you're talking to the little vocal thing, you have your hand on the machine, and then you talk, and then she reads this map to you, and she lets the lights flash, blah 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 blah, and then you take off the glasses and you talk about it. Okay, so she said, okay, talk about the walk-in, blah 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 blah, talk. And unlike the past several times that I had just done this exercise with her over the past 45 minutes, she's like, Rebecca, take off the glasses. I'm like, okay. And her eyes are this big. I mean, she's got big blue eyes anyway, but they're like saucers. And she said, Rebecca, do you know you're talking about this experience in present tense? And I said, I don't understand what he's saying. And then she very slowly and calmly says to me, Rebecca, do you know you're talking about, like, is the original occupant still present? And the fog starts rolling in. Like, I really have absolutely no idea what she's saying to me. And out of my mouth comes, yes. And then she says, slower, her eyes wider than before, Harvard-trained psychologist, psychic, many things, right? She said, more slowly, is the original occupant still embodied? And out of my mouth came yes. Okay, so now I am officially baffled and cloudy and a little bit nervous all of a sudden. And she, who I've never seen wordless, speechless, is entirely speechless. I'm like, okay, now what? And she's like, I don't know. I've never heard of anything like this before. So, all right. So I'll just pause there for a second. Because this began an epically long journey over the past year, which I am writing a sci-fi movie about, which I told it a little bit about. Because of course, this was made in sci-fi. This didn't actually happen.
There are a couple of questions that came in, by the way. It says,
okay, go ahead.
One is, when you remember these memories, is this so in the beginning, when you're talking about your memory going down the corridor and all that, So when you remember these memories, is this the walk-in part of you, or was that the person's body you walked into? So whose memories were those that you had of going down the corridor?
Those were mine. Those are mine.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had the same memories and the same sights from the same direction, right? Like this,
Mm-hmm.
as I have now. So those didn't shift. And, you know, at 3, I mean, I had a personality change apparently too. But they thought it was because I had been sick.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. And it could also be like, oh, she's developing so quickly or something like that. They could explain it away.
Exactly.
Yeah. Angela asks, she says, this is so interesting. I'm curious, how did you know it was time to walk in? Did you get some sort of telepathic signal?
That's a great question. I think that was just part of the contract. Like, I just knew, like, so when we hugged me, this soul, the ones that's talking, fell back into the body. So that's my memory, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that was in the training manual.
Okay.
I'm not, you know, like I just knew.
Okay.
So,
and here's an interesting question. Denise is asking if you've read any of Dolores Cannon's work on walk-ins, where she says that there were 3 waves or groups of walk-ins that came in. Have you heard of this or familiar?
a little teeny bit, but I would love to know more. So
yeah, Dolores Cannon she's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Dolores Cannon for sure. So I'm going to have to know a little bit more about what she said and where I can find that stuff, because I've been like totally fascinated by her Atlantis stuff. But
so do you think you came in with a wave of other walk-ins, or do you think yours was an individual journey?
Well, I came in with mission for sure. And so speaking of Atlantis, I am pretty sure that a whole group of us, and maybe people on this call, came in from this time, at that time in various waves. So it's very possible I was brought here with super mission.
Yeah.
That I was taught that because I was in Atlantis, that I had to come back now.
Oh, interesting. Is it something you can share?
It's just a much longer story, but you know, I remember Atlantis very clearly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like another wisdom soup call. We got to do another one.
Yeah, but somebody else can talk about it and I'll just ask questions.
That sounds cool. So, and Sean is asking, now I'm confused. So did the original soul that you hugged in the surgical room decide to drop back into the body with you?
Yes. I have more about that. But yeah, she came in the back door because she had been embodied. She knew the body and how it worked. So she came back in. And there's more to that. So happy to talk more about that.
Wendy is clarifying, because Wendy Rose Williams is very familiar with, you've actually studied Dolores and uses Dolores Cannon's technique as a hypnotherapist, as a past life regressionist. And she says the 3 waves of volunteers is what she says. So Wendy, do you know details about the 3 waves of volunteers, just out of curiosity? Wendy, are you familiar with that? You can answer in that.
Let me look online for a bit and refresh my memory and summarize. It's a super long book. It's almost 600 pages. So I'll put something more cogent in here in a moment.
Okay, but Wendy, we can talk about it separately too, but I'm super interested for sure.
Yeah, very cool. So thanks, Wendy. And your new puppy is darling, by the way.
I can't see any of this, so I'm so sorry.
So Jillian is saying, oh, this is interesting. Jillian is saying, I am 51 and came in when I was almost 3. Similar situation in a hospital. Weird synchronicity. That is amazing.
So where were you? I was in Boston. So where were you?
Jillian, do you mind unmuting?
Yeah, sure. I was in Seattle Children's Hospital.
Yeah. So maybe we were part of this wave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Very cool.
Yeah,
interesting.
Very cool. I'm super interested. I'd love to know more.
Yeah.
Were
there any other similarities in the story for you, Jillian? In terms of sense of or anything like that?
I know that mine was a soul agreement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that it involved trauma.
Mm.
And mine happened right. My earliest memory is opening my eyes after the trauma.
Interesting.
And there's nothing before that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
And
no,
my personality did change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember any preparation?
I remember not wanting to come and saying that and knowing that there were things that I needed to do here. And so I kind of felt like I had no choice, that I agreed to do it. It was important that I come, but that I wasn't very excited about it.
Oh, I'll tell you, me neither. I've been here once or twice and I was just like, damn.
Like, not again.
Damn. Again.
Yeah.
So
All right. So
you and me, we should talk.
Yeah, I would like that.
We also have Jean saying that she had 3 lifetimes in Atlantis, including the ending of Atlantis. Very interesting. And Wendy is adding the full title of the book, which is The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. So that's the book by Dolores Cannon. Thank you, Wendy, very much for that. If anybody's interested in checking that out. And here Carolyn has added a link to it, which is cool.
Fabulous. Thanks. I'm gonna be like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
we
sure. Won't be seeing you for a while because you'll be nose in a 600-page book.
Or maybe she had recorded it because that
the audiobook would be nice.
Yeah, the audiobook.
Yeah.
Or, because there's some of her stuff that is recorded, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. So and then Paul's saying maybe you are both soul twins wanting to work on your purpose together. That's an interesting thought.
Oh, right. That could be possible. I'd like it. I like it.
So Carolyn is saying in Atlantis, we ruined the world and it imploded because we were too much into technology, animal parts mixing with human beings. We didn't care about each other and human life. So we were doing the same thing now, picking technology and human interaction over connectivity. We also utilize a lot of crystals, and that is why crystal shops are all over the place. Very interesting. So Rebecca, here's another question. So Rebecca, you walked in very young. So yeah, at age 3, right? Age 3?
Yep, age 3. My sister was 6 months and I was 3.
Okay. Very interesting. So, so we have a lot of comments here, but I think we want to hear how you ended up resolving. And I'll keep going through the questions, but we want to hear how you ended up resolving this other inhabitant, what you did. So can you tell us that part of the story?
Yes. Okay. So here we go. So we left where, I'm just finding out. And this Harvard trained psychologist is like cross-eyed, as am I at this moment, and sort of, okay, now what? Try to figure it out. So I see a lot of healers. I mean, I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm not much for traditional Western medicine. I use a lot of essential oils, as some of you know. I'm kind of an essential oil hustler. So I called all the Queen's horses and all the Queen's men. They had to put me back together again because I had like literally no idea what to do now. And so basically we started to do we tried first on one of my healers. She has a John of God crystal bed. We tried to gently take her to New Earth or to the light, and she was having no part of it. None of it. And then the healers all basically decided we need to do an eviction process, which I could tell in detail, but it's way too long. Really cool, but I'm seriously putting all of this into the sci-fi movie. But one healing session, I hated lemongrass essential oil. And to this healer who's a body whisperer, I bring a bunch of essential oils with me, and he pulls out an oil like he has an intuition about, and he'll start using it. But normally he'll just put a little bit on his hand and rub it. Blah, blah, blah. He takes a bottle of lemongrass, which I didn't even know was in this bag, and he starts pouring it all over my body, and I'm gagging, and I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you doing to me? And he says to me, looks me straight in the eye, and he said, who doesn't like lemongrass, Rebecca? And all of a sudden, like, again, I had this weird thing. I'm like, it's not me. She doesn't like it. and it helped start the eviction process of her getting out of my physical body because it was her. Also, before this experience, I was violently allergic to coconut. I am no longer allergic to coconut.
Wow.
So there were aspects that she was that I am not. So there was those things. We were able to physically get her out, but she stayed on this plane because, again, she wasn't having it. She was pissed. And basically all the healers and I decided to call it the temper tantrum, because she was way, like, her behavior was still impacting my physical body, even though she was not physically in my body anymore. But what started happening was all kinds of crazy things, because she had occupied so much space in my physical body. I started having things like I started falling down. And I had these allergies and these things that I didn't like it's strange things started happening. And as I mentioned before, I'm a swimmer. And so one day, this is early June, so March to June, this sort of eviction process. And I'm swimming, and all of a sudden, before I'm like clear cognizant, clear audio, like I'm very connected and I'm spiritual and all of these things, but I didn't know I had any other ability. Like I couldn't hear things. I mean, although, I have a practice, shamanistic practice and many things, and I talk to spirit guides and stuff like this. I didn't have any clears. I'm in the pool swimming, and all of a sudden, like somebody is standing next to me talking to me, I start hearing voices, and they are so clear. It was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I'm like, what is happening? So I stand up in the pool and I'm like looking around because I'm thinking somebody is talking to me, and they're like, nope. Like in my head, nope. I'm like, oh boy. And so they're like, you can continue swimming. Like, maybe you can continue swimming. I continued swimming, and I then experienced, I was told, we are your council of 7. We have been here your whole life, but you have not been able to hear us because the original occupant was blocking us. We have a lot to teach you, so buckle up.
Mm.
And so now I hear voices. Great. Fabulous. Anyway, so lots of things. And I'm happy to report that in August, the day before my birthday, the council, through a whole bunch of shenanigans, which is what the science fiction movie will really focus on, and I were able to convince her that because she made a secondary agreement after she made the agreement with me in the universe, and the council basically said that the universe doesn't like hitchhikers that break their contracts. And so they convinced her that she needed to go to New Earth, go to the light, or let the universe take her. And she chose wisely, and she allowed the council to take her to the light, where she is safely now. And the end, no. And there we are.
So, by the way, Wendy posted an excerpt from the book, which explains the 3 waves. She said, Dolores Cannon, through her hypnosis work, has discovered 3 waves of these volunteers. Some have come direct from the source and have never lived in any type of physical body before. Others have lived as space beings on other planets or other dimensions, because all memory is erased upon entry. So in any case, so interesting. So they're volunteers who have come because Earth was specifically it instigated kind of right around, was it the atomic, or what does it say, 1945, the atomic bomb. And so they said, okay, we need to send a bunch of volunteers to Earth. And that's what she discovered. So
So this
Interesting 'cause-
happened in 1971 for me. So,
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So super interesting. And let me go down here. There's another, so Wendy's asking, do you think the original soul stayed because she was only 3 when the swap took place and she didn't understand the contract?
So what I understand now is that she was a very broken soul. She was entirely broken, shattered soul. And she had the reason why she came from 0 to 3, or at least why she created the contract from 0 to 3, was because she needed to experience unconditional love. She had never experienced unconditional love and wanted to have that experience. And when she was here and she was getting it, because my parents were great people, they gave her really good unconditional love, right? And even my sister was pretty good back then. So, she wanted to stay. And so when she was offered this contract, and they wanted to make sure I was blocked from achieving my mission, she took it. She took it. So she was a shattered soul. I actually have some deep empathy and compassion for her. I was pretty angry for a while, but at this point, what do you do?
Yeah. It's just an amazing story. It really is. And I imagine for you, it was probably mind bending just starting back in all the pieces that came in over time.
Yeah, that's the understatement of this universe. Yes.
Yeah. So, and especially interesting with your purpose that her staying was not planned. So I wonder, how does that wrap into your purpose? With that whole experience of having been occupied, did it throw your purpose at all? Have you been, pulled off path at all because of that?
Well, not pulled off path, but I wasn't able. So, I'm an epic serial entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, social purpose, and none of my things would. I would have 1,000 ideas and 1,000 things, and I got let go. I got merged out. My ideas were stolen. Things were purposefully blocked from happening.
Wow. And so that fits with Paul's question, which is, do you know who they are, the ones who wanted to block you from achieving your mission?
So honestly, we just know it's dark people, dark mission. And actually the council doesn't want me to know anymore. That's basically what they told me. They want me to get back to work. Get to work. You've missed a whole lot of time. Get back to work.
Is that right? Is that when they came in and started speaking to you when you were in the pool, did they jump right into, okay, here's what you're supposed to be doing?
Oh, they gave me a day. They said I have to swim.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they told me I had to swim every day. So I swam pretty much every day for about 3 months.
Wow.
Where they talked to me. They gave me little bits and pieces, and oh boy.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Crazy.
So, yeah. And I really want to know what your mission is.
Like others that were maybe in Atlantis, I was there early, and when it was more of a matriarchy, and the early piece got totally distorted, and into what was described, and we were taken off planet. All of Atlantis. So there's all kinds of different theories about what happened, whether Atlantis actually sunk or whether Atlantis was taken off planet or whatever. But I know that I was part of one of the first families, and by doing that, I maintained and retained this idea of what you had mentioned earlier, actually, in the right as your description of me. And then I'm talking about, new forms of money and currency, and that a world with reciprocity, which is truly part of my mission. And that it's not necessarily a world with no money per se. It's a world of reciprocity where we're in natural systems with harmony with all things and beings, and not only people. Right? We're not extractive. We are very much in charge and in tune of who we are and how we impact the world, and that we have to start to be in alignment and get in the game as opposed to being the vultures that are taking all the stuff. So
I love it. And have things moved more easily for you along that path since the walk? How long has she been out? How long ago was that?
So since my birthday, well, the day before my birthday, August 8th.
Of this year?
Also the Lionsgate of 2021.
Of 2021. Okay, so it hasn't been that long.
No.
And what are the biggest changes besides the fact that you were falling down? Other exchanges in your world since she's been gone?
Yeah, I mean, physical, I've had some super physical issues. Gratefully, I have an amazing set of healers that have figured out and helped to get me on eating plans. And, I have to actually embody my full body. It's like being in a massive multi-room hotel and only occupying the top left-hand room. So I have had to literally figure out how to use my body and embody. And what's one of the biggest challenges I'm having, especially in these times where so much energies are coming into the planet, earthquakes, volcanoes, lions and tigers and bears. So, yeah.
So when she was in there, there were certain parts of her that were active. Is there any parts of her that you miss?
So, it's very interesting. Before she left, the council had us do this process because she had taken things from me, and I'd also taken something from her, but I didn't know what that was. So because she was such a broken soul, she took away my hope. And no, I'm so sorry. She took away my joy.
Okay.
Away my joy. And it was weird because sort of pre-pandemic, I was a little depressed and I couldn't figure out what was happening. And then people in my life were like, you're not like this. This is weird. Like what's going on? I spent actually a full year blogging every single day about experiencing joy. They were like, you're not that person. Like, what's happening? And then I thought, okay, when the pandemic struck, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just getting this before everybody else. But it didn't come back. Not that joy would come back during the pandemic necessarily, but it was super gone. And the other thing she took away from me was my ability to be a connector, like to be able to connect in the ways that I had been when she was embodied. She pulled that out of me. She pulled that away from me because she wanted to be able to still connect.
Oh, wow.
And so we went through this sort of ceremony. Again, I'm swimming. Very, very weird. And so she had to give me those things back. And then the council said, so Rebecca, you have something to give to her. And I said, I have no idea what that is. They said, think. And I said, oh, I took her hope because I didn't have joy. So I took her hope.
Oh boy.
And so that was probably a big problem. I didn't know I had done it, right? Because totally unconscious. But I had to give her back her hope.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was, and your council facilitated that.
Yeah. And so I did have a lot of healers around me at this time, but these experiences, a lot of them happened in the pool. And my friends that have been hearing this story for now a year are like, okay, we love you, Rebecca.
Wow. So Wendy is saying it's so critical to recognize our own beautiful energy and to be fully sovereign. My hat is off to you, Rebecca. This is the most complex example I've heard. I'm so glad you're writing a screenplay, did you say?
I'm working on it. Any help would be wonderfully welcome.
Fantastic. So I hope I got everybody's questions. I'm scanning through just to make sure. If there's anybody I missed in terms of your questions, or if anybody who didn't get to put in their question, feel free to unmute and speak up and let us know.
And you don't have to spotlight me. I'm happy to sort of be amongst everybody.
No way, man.
Okay.
This is your moment.
Great.
I'm exposing
Great.
you fully. She's out of the closet. So Adrian, just saying thank you for sharing. I think all of us are so grateful. I know this was really like when I first asked Rebecca to do this, she's like, and how many other people will be speaking? Like, no, this is your turn. We want to hear your story. There definitely was plenty to tell, right? So it was an amazing experience, especially if this is so fresh. This experience is so fresh. It sounds like you're still really working your way through the remaining pieces of this. So
yeah, it's a bit archival to sort of dig out this archaeology site, right?
Yeah. Totally amazing. So thank you so much, Rebecca. I love that you were willing to do this for us and to share it with us. I think all of us took pieces of this that we can relate to our own lives and to the experience of the things that we've heard, or sometimes it just really opens your mind up to what's possible, which is such a big part of this spiritual adventure. Things we think are impossible, and then we find out, nope, that's possible.
Only found in science fiction.
Right, exactly.
The Oxford Dictionary calls empaths only found in science fiction, by the way, just so you know.
That's so crazy.
Not okay.
Totally crazy.
No, I'm not having that at all.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much to Rebecca, and thank you all of you for coming. And a couple of you wanted to connect with Rebecca, so I have your email addresses, and I will get those to her. A couple different people were wanting to loop back around with you, Rebecca.
That would be great.
So we will, for next Wisdom Soup coming up next month, I would like to do another round of speed friending. So if you are hoping, yeah, exactly. Super
That was
fun.
so much fun.
Yeah. So if you are hoping to connect with your spiritual peeps, to connect with other people who are like-minded, it's a really fun, easy thing we do where you show up. And an easy way to do it is to pick any kind of either a book that you've read, a class that you've taken, maybe it's someone you follow on YouTube, a resource, any kind of resource that's been helpful to you on your journey. And then we go in rounds, and very briefly, you meet with another person who's in the community, and you share your resource and they share theirs. And maybe you talk a little bit about, and it's a fun way so that when you come to Wisdom Soup and you see the other faces here, you know the people that are here. You start making connections. And it's fun to just know that you're not on this journey by yourself, that there are other people who are having their own bizarre experiences.
Welcome to my world.
Yes, exactly. So that will be the next month, the second Thursday of the month. So I'll be sending out an invite, but I hope you guys can all make it.
I look forward to it and meeting everybody. So please be there.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for coming, you guys. And and let's see. And Jean is saying, I would like to connect with Rebecca regarding screenplay. So Jean, if you want to just go ahead and pop your email into the chat and I'll get it to her. So anybody else, Denise, everybody wants to connect with you, Rebecca.
Great. So I will do my best. I'm only on Facebook to listen to Anne these days. So.
Thank you. Put your email into the chat. Send me a direct message in the chat with your email, and I will copy it. Here it is. Oh, yeah, that's you, Jean. Hi. Okay, great. I've got that. And let's see, one more. Send me your email. And Micheline says, thank you, everyone. This was my first time here. It was absolutely fascinating. So glad you could make it. That is awesome. And Denise, I need your email if you want to connect with her. There it is. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. And I will see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.